5, the topic is driven by individual need to understand.
Dancing fearless.
Nor should the teaching of science be presented in a way that implies its acceptance is compulsory. None of us would give a scientific work a title like Fichte once did, a crystal clear report to the general public on the actual nature of the latest philosophy, an attempt to compel the reader to understand. Today, no one should be compelled to understand. We expect neither recognition nor agreement from anyone who is not driven to a certain view by his own particular individual needs. We do not want to cram facts of knowledge into even an immature person, a child. We try to develop the child's capacity in such a way that he no longer needs to be compelled to understand, but wants to understand. Now, socially, you can look and find many ways that we're being compelled to understand. It occurs in education through the testing process. We're compelled to understand what we're expecting to find on the test, otherwise we're not going to pass the class. There are whole books on ways to compel people to understand socially. Advertising people use it in their marketing. Whenever they talk to somebody from a particular political party, every person repeats the same talking point, so it's just drilled into your head. I mean, that's a technique to force you to understand. The media narratives usually use fear to force you to accept their narrative. I remember a long time ago, they used to have the League of Women's Voters. Their interest was, gee, we want the voters to be informed so our democracy works. So they used to hold debates and really care about the views coming out, and they're totally nonpartisan. And they put on good political debates. Everybody's trying to force us into some kind of belief, whatever direction they want to move us. So it's a question, how do you become an independent thinker? Now Google's decided to determine what we think. Independent views, independent media is being squeezed out. Facebook is censoring any point of view that hurts somebody's feelings. YouTube is censoring things terribly. They're censoring certain political views that they don't like. What they're doing here is they're manipulating things by controlling the facts. You hear about cramming the facts into somebody. There's the other side of it of withholding facts. Because if there's things you don't know, that affects your opinion tremendously. So how do you get out of that is the question.
More and more, you have to really depend on your own inner resources to navigate through everything that's going on, to see who's manipulating what, when, where. Just as we improve our capacity for thinking, we can navigate, find the thread through to the sources and resources that we need, either inner or outer. People are being brainwashed to a particular dogma or set of beliefs because they're not awake in their thinking yet. Then they go down a path and don't even realize they're going down that path.
We know of all the special interest groups out there that want to control what we know and what we understand. They want to compel us to know this and know that and think this way and think that way and form our opinions. The only way to combat it is to have our own need to know and work out of that, which is a big part of what this chapter is about. That's our inner truth. When we have our own need to know, then we have our own questions. We are the ones that come up with our own answers to our own questions. You can't really expect somebody else to answer your questions because your questions are very personal. They're tied into what you need to know. You're the one that's in the position to answer your own questions, not somebody else. When you answer your own questions, that knowledge that you answer it with, that you've discovered, comes out of yourself, so you really know it. It's your inner truth, and it connects in with your other inner knowledge, and then it all ties together. Which then, if we have our own questions and our own needs, that means we have to do our own research, because the people that are supplying facts to us, they have an agenda, which they don't know what our needs are anyways. We have to use critical thinking and just not accept everything blindly. But we also can apply that to ourselves in regards to our own views. I just had this view. What is the source of that view? Did I hear that on TV last night and now I'm just repeating it? It's very interesting to examine your views. Our first opinion that appears is based on our old understanding of everything. Good sometimes to kind of let that one go by and wait for something new to appear. Thinkers have a need to know. It comes out of first the development of thinking. If you don't really ever think, you really don't have a need to know. You don't have any questions. You're just kind of an open book that they can fill up. But once you start thinking, then questions start coming up, and then that drives a desire to know, especially a desire to know the truth.